individuality, being an individual, maybe on the group. I think tomorrow is Polly is giving that talk. So that is how usually we'll start the evening. And then we'll meditate for a little bit of time after that and then do a puja together. This evening, there isn't going to be a speaker, so we've got a bit of time to meditate together, and then we'll perform a puja together, and we'll finish at 8:30 or thereabouts. But maybe just before we do that, since everyone's been talking, I'm going to get the people in the room to just say hello and say their names, somewhat their surprise. Maybe starting with you.
Sadanandi.
Patrick. Sandadeva.
Shubhavika.
Sadhaloka.
I'm Ksantikara, and behind the camera,
Lizzie, hello.
Yeah, so we're sitting here in the Adhisthana Shrine Room, and I really liked earlier when Sadanandi made the comment about the mats and cushions in the corner of the Shrine Room, sort of waiting for people to come and use them. And Patrick and I moved here in January, early January. So Patrick and I are quite new here, and it's really enjoyable being here at Adhisthana. It feels like a real sort of treat to be able to use the mats and cushions and to be able to sit in front of the Shrine Room. But hopefully for you, there's a sense of gathering at the shrine with us. And particularly this evening when we meditate together and perform puja together, you kind of have to try a little bit harder with imagination than usual. So particularly ritual and puja always has our imagination in it. But this evening you'll have to sort of imagine yourself connecting to this shrine room, sort of leaping through the screen to join us. And we'll imagine the same. We'll imagine that you're sitting with us. So why don't we start by saluting the shrine together, and then I'll say a little bit more about the order of events. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Dhammaya.
Namo Dhammaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Namah.
Namo Namah. Great, so I'll talk for a few more minutes, so do continue sitting comfortably. I can't remember if I said, but my name's Ksantikara, and I'm going to be hosting the evenings and the mornings going forward, so sort of the bookends of the retreat. And as you've probably noticed today, there's going to be quite a lot of content, quite a lot of talks, and then quite a lot of discussion groups. So I'd really encourage you to come along in the mornings at 7 a.m. I'm usually struggling to come along at 7 a.m. to the Adhisthana Shrine Room. The community meditates together each morning, but personally I'm often not making it on time. But I'm looking forward to doing so for the next few days. So it'd be really great to see you then. We meditate together for 45 minutes, have a short break, and then for half an hour. And we start it all off with the Tiratna Vandana. So yeah, I hope to see you in the morning at 7 a.m. And then, yeah, because we've had this day, haven't we, with 2 talks, 2 discussion groups, we've got to know a few more people. I was pointing out in my discussion group that we'll be spending a substantial amount of time together. So there's time to meet people, there's time to hear the Dharma, to hear the talks, and this evening we've got some time to settle down a bit. Yeah. In my group, we were particularly talking about Metta. The Metta Bhavana came up quite a bit, particularly when people were answering the question, how do we grow towards becoming an individual ourselves? Quite a few of the guys in my group said Metta. Ujjimani
from Paris, who isn't here this evening. He had to go to the Paris AGM at the Buddhist Center. He said something like, when I asked him what he thought about how to move towards being an individual, he said, more metta, always more metta, which I thought was quite good. So I thought this evening we could start with 20 minutes of doing the Metta Bhavana together. So you might not be able to do all the stages, but you can do something of it, and I'll ring a bell at the beginning and at the end. And then after that, we'll do a puja together. I'll decide when we get there whether it's sevenfold puja or threefold puja. I'll say a bit more at that moment. And that, of course, I think links to Sadhaloka's talk today, evoking the Buddha as our shining example of a true individual. So we can turn towards the Buddha after doing some Metta Bhavana practice together. So for the time being, why don't we set ourselves up for meditation? Make yourself as comfortable as you can. And I'll ring a bell to start us off in a period of the Metta Bhavana together. And then in about 20 minutes, I'll ring a bell again and we'll have a time to just stretch ourselves out a little bit before doing a puja together. So when you're ready, you can close your eyes. And I'll allow you to find your own way to settle into the meditation, setting yourself up in your meditation posture as we embark on a short 20-minute period of the Metta Bhavana together. The Metta Bhavana. So just before we bring this meditation to a close, you can relax any effort you're making. For a few moments, we can just sit here. So I'll just give you 30 seconds to move around if you need to, and then I'll just say a few things about the puja. So just 30 seconds to drink water or stretch around if you need to. Okay, I'll just give a few more moments for a few people to return. Okay, great. So what we're going to do next together is we're going to do a threefold puja this evening. And it will start with a, well, I was going to say short reading, but actually it's on the longer side. So before the threefold puja, I'll read to you a little kind of story. I'll say something about that in a minute. And then after the second fold, Patrick is going to read again the sutta that Sadhaloka shared with us this morning, particularly where we have this person come to the Buddha and ask a question about men who are calmed. How do they see things? How do they behave? And then the Buddha replies. So after the second fold of the threefold puja, Patrick will read that to us again, as we heard earlier. And then at the end of the puja, Lizzie will lead us in the Shakyamuni mantra. We'll join in after a couple of rounds from Lizzie, and I'd encourage you to do the same. And then hopefully you have a shrine in the room that you're in and you could make an offering. If not, maybe you could just stand and bow to something beautiful or look out the window or something. Yep. I'll leave that to you. So a threefold puja with a short reading at the beginning, or longer actually. After the second fold, a reading from Patrick, and at the end, the Shakyamuni mantra. And at the end of the puja, I'd encourage you not to unmute yourselves. Yeah, so we'll carry on in the spirit that we create. Yeah, we can all take it with us, and we'll leave the camera on for a little while. We might leave quietly, or some of us might stay sitting, and you could stay sitting with your eyes closed if you wanted, or you can leave in your own time. But we'll sort of have a silent exit, and you can linger if you like. Yeah, so I was saying a second ago that I've recently moved to Adasthana with Patrick here. So in a literal sense, Adasthana is sort of a new home to me. But for a long time, I felt strongly connected to Adasthana, and maybe you do as well. 7 years ago, I came here on my first retreat. And on that first retreat, I did my first puja. And over those 10 days of that retreat, well, I really learned to love ritual and puja as a practice. This practice of imaginatively conjuring up the Buddha and moving towards him. Yeah. And Sadhaloka spoke to us today, didn't he, about the qualities of the Buddha and how bringing them to mind help us move towards the qualities of individuality. So I hope as we do the puja this evening, we can sort of move towards the Buddha together. And the other significant thing about Adasthana for me was that, well, a few years ago, I came here and I met Bhante in person. I met Sangharashtra in person. And that was sort of quite a significant meeting. In some ways, it was a bit like sitting in a room with a very old man in a very hot environment, and I'm not sure he could see me. That was sort of one version, and the other version was something quite sort of significant. I felt like I was meeting someone very important, someone who'd had a really strong effect on my life, someone I was very grateful to. But I'm also in the position where that was the only time I met Bhante. So I'm sort of in a slightly, I think, sometimes privileged position of mainly Bhante to me as a symbol or a sort of myth. Which I sort of am quite enjoying engaging in that way. And one of the ways that I particularly meet him is through his memoirs. So I'm going to start the threefold puja by reading to you a moment from his memoirs. And I think I'll probably do that each evening. And this is the moment where he sort of burns his papers and dons robes and goes forth, yeah? I think it's got a wonderful atmosphere of an individual. Yeah? So I thought we'd start there. So I'll start with that reading and then we'll perform the puja together. So once again, you can set yourself up in your meditation posture. And when you're ready, you can close your eyes. You could dim the lighting in your room if you wanted. And then I'll read this extract from Bhante's memoirs, and then we'll do the threefold puja together. And you'll have to forgive my pronunciation of some of the names. I'm not very good at that. There was only one way out. Religious societies, organizations, and groups, far from being a help to spiritual development, were only a hindrance. However lofty the ideals with which they were founded, they had a natural tendency to degenerate in the hands of selfish human beings into instruments for the acquisition of money, position, power, and fame. Instead of trying any longer to work with them, we would follow the example of the Buddha and sever at one stroke our connection with an incorrigible world. We would renounce the household life and go forth into the life of homelessness as wanderers in search of truth. For the last few months, we had only sat hesitantly on the shore of the vast ocean of spiritual life. Now, casting aside all fear, we would plunge boldly in. Having made the resolution, we lost no time in putting it into effect. With the handful of Guru Mati, the reddish brown earth used since time immemorial by Indian aesthetics, we dyed our shirts and sarongs the traditional saffron of the world renunciant. Suitcases and watches were sold, trousers, jackets, and shoes given away, identification papers destroyed. Apart from the robes that we were to wear, we kept only a blanket each and our books and notebooks. As for the last few months, hair and beard had been allowed to grow. We did not need shaving tackle. Next morning, after joyfully donning our saffron robes, we walked feeling shy and rather conspicuous through the bazaar to Dr. Guru Kipali Singh's house. Layla Parilar and other friends, though regarding our aspirations with sympathy, did not feel at all happy about our decision, which in their opinion was rash. Only Dr. Singh wholeheartedly approved. With him, therefore, we had agreed to take breakfast before leaving. Apart from his sons, a stalwart youth who accompanied us part of the way, our worthy Sikh friend, whose deep emotion when he wished us success in our quest, both humbled and heartened us. He was the last person to whom we spoke before setting out on foot along the 10-mile road to the plains. Tibetan Buddhists believe that the appearance of rainbow is one of the most auspicious signs, and the biographies of their saints and yogis are replete with references to this phenomenon. Whether our going forth on the 18th of August 1947 may be considered an auspicious event, I cannot say, but it was certainly signalled by the appearance of not one, but scores of rainbows. As we left, it was raining, but as in the course of our descent, we emerged from the clouds into the bright sunshine below, we saw arcing the road at intervals of a few dozen yards, not only single, but double and triple rainbows. Every time we turned a bend, we found more rainbows waiting for us. We passed through them as though through the multicolored arcades of some celestial palace. Against the background of bright sunshine, jewel-like glittering raindrops, and hills of the freshest and most vivid green, this plethora of delicate, seven-hued bows seem like the epiphany of another world. The threefold puja. Opening reverence. We reverence the Buddha.
We reverence the Buddha.
The perfectly enlightened one.
The perfectly enlightened one.
The shower of the way.
The shower of the way.
We reverence the Dharma.
We reverence the Dharma.
The teaching of the Buddha.
The teaching of the Buddha.
Which leads from darkness to light.
Which leads from darkness to light.
We reverence the Sangha.
We reverence the Sangha.
The fellowship of the Buddha's disciples.
The fellowship of the Buddha's disciples.
That inspires and guides.
That inspires and guides.
Reverence to the three jewels. We reverence the Buddha.
We reverence the Buddha.
And aspire to follow him.
And aspire to follow him.
The Buddha was born as we are born.
The Buddha was born as we are born.
What the Buddha overcame.
What the Buddha overcame.
We too can overcome.
We too can overcome.
What the Buddha attained.
What the Buddha attained.
We too can attain.
We too can attain.
We reverence the Dharma.
We reverence the Dharma.
And aspire to follow it.
And aspire to follow it.
With body, speech and mind.
With body, speech and mind.
Until the end.
Until the end.
The truth in all its aspects.
the truth in all its aspects,
the path in all its stages.
the path in all its stages.
We aspire to study,
We aspire to study,
practice,
practice,
realize.
realize.
We reverence the Sangha
We reverence the Sangha
and aspire to follow it.
and aspire to follow it.
The fellowship of those who tread the way,
The fellowship of those who tread the way,
as one by one,
as one by one,
we make our own commitment,
we make our own commitments.
an ever-widening circle.
An ever-widening circle,
The Sangha grows.
the Sangha grows.
Qualities of a Muni. Gautama, sir, a questioner, said to the Buddha, I want to ask you about the perfect man. There are those people whom we call men who are calm. Can you tell me how they see things and how they behave? A man who is calm, who has extinguished all his cravings before the time his body disintegrates into nothing, who has no concern with how things began or with how they will end, and no fixation with what happens in between. Such a man has no preferences. He has no anger, no fear, and no pride. Nothing disturbs his composure, and nothing gives him cause for regret. He is the wise man who is restrained in speech. He has no longing for the future and no grief for the past. There are no views or opinions that lead him. He can see detachment from the entangled world of sense impression. He does not conceal anything, and there is nothing he holds on to. Without acquisitiveness or envy, he remains unobtrusive. He has no disdain or insult for anyone. He is not a man who is full of himself, or a man who is addicted to pleasure. He is a man who is gentle and alert, with no blind faith. He shows no aversion to anything. He is not a person who works because he wants something. If he gets nothing at all, he remains unperturbed. There is no craving to build up the passion to taste new pleasures. His mindfulness holds him posed in a constant even-mindedness, where arrogance is impossible. He makes no comparisons with the rest of the world as superior, inferior, or equal. Because he understands the way things are, he is free from dependency, and there is nothing he relies on. For him, there is no more craving to exist or not to exist. This is what I call a man who is calm. It is a man who does not seek after pleasure, who has nothing to tie him down, who has gone beyond the pull of attachment. It is a man without sons, a man without wealth, without fields, without cows, a man with nothing in him that he grasps at as his, and nothing in him that he rejects as not his. He is a man who receives false criticisms from other people, from priests and hermits, but who remains undisturbed and unmoved by their words. It is a man without greed and without possessiveness. It is a man who, as a man of wisdom, does not consider himself superior, inferior, or equal. It is a man who does not enter speculation, a man who is free from speculations. It is a man who has nothing in this world that he calls his own, and who does not grieve for not having anything. He is calmed, who does not take speculative views.
Offerings to the Buddha. Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha,
We offer flowers.
we offer flowers.
Flowers that today are fresh and sweetly blooming.
Flowers that today are fresh and sweetly blooming.
Flowers that tomorrow are faded and fallen.
Flowers that tomorrow are faded and fallen.
Our bodies too, like flowers,
Our bodies too, like flowers,
will pass away.
will pass away.
Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha,
We offer candles
we offer candles.
to him who is the light.
To him who is the light,
We offer light
we offer light.
from his greater lamp.
From his greater lamp,
A lesser lamp we light within us.
a lesser lamp we light within us.
The lamp of Bodhi,
The lamp of Bodhi,
shining within our hearts.
shining within our hearts.
Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha,
We offer incense.
we offer incense.
Incense whose fragrance pervades the air.
Incense whose fragrance pervades the air.
The fragrance of the perfect life.
The fragrance of the perfect life,
Sweeter than incense.
sweeter than incense,
Spreads in all directions.
spreads in all directions
Throughout the world.
throughout the world.
Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu, Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu.
Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu. Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu. Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu. Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu. Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu. Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu. Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu. Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu. Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu. Muni, Muni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu, Muni, Muni, 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 Mahamuni, Shakyamuni, Sadhu.
So leaving silently when you're ready, sitting on a bit longer if you wish. And we'll see you again at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.